It's spooky season, so let's talk about Mesopotamian demons. I want to expand on a previous video that I made about Lamaštu and explain why I have a more sympathetic and nuanced interpretation of her, and I don't want to just call her an evil demon. Lamaštu is a super interesting figure in cuneiform text, one of my favorites. I even have a tattoo of her. But in a lot of scholarly Assyriological literature, she's simplified into just being an evil demon or a child-snatching, baby-eating character, and I think there's more going on here that I want to talk about today. This semester, I'm the teaching assistant for a class called Magic, Medicine, and Madness in the Middle East, and we just spent the past week talking about Mesopotamian demons and trying to unpack what we mean when we use the word demon. It's just a matter of being aware of all of the baggage that these different terms have and thinking carefully about how these characters are actually functioning in the context that we want to talk about in the past, and not just assuming that they act a certain way because we call them something specific in English. We call them demons, sure, but the ancient Mesopotamians didn't call them demons, and they're more complicated than just wholly evil beings. So in basically every text that Lamaštu appears in, she's described specifically as being the daughter of the sky god An or Anu. There are two versions and two interpretations of Lamaštu's origin story and how she came to be distanced from the gods even though she is the daughter of Anu. One of these Lamaštu origin stories comes from the text Atrahasis, which in itself is a creation story, and the earliest manuscripts that we have of it come from the Old Babylonian period at the beginning of the second millennium. In this story, this is before the gods have created humans, and all the gods are doing the work, and they're getting tired, and they start complaining to Enlil that they have to do all this work, and they go on strike, essentially. And so they create humans to do all the work that the gods had been doing before. But the humans are too noisy, and Enlil starts complaining. In order to deal with all the annoying sound that the humans are making, Enlil asks Enki to get the goddess Nintu, and Nintu makes the Peshitu demon, which steals babies away from their mothers, presumably as a means of population control, to control how many humans are on Earth. And then in later texts, Lamaštu herself is called a Peshitu, and Peshitu is usually translated in English as something like annihilator or exterminator. I think it's best to not try to translate it. But it is clear in later texts that they are directly connecting this character of the Peshitu with Lamaštu. Even if that wasn't the original intention, eventually in the construction of Lamaštu as a character, they seem to be linking her back to the Atrahasis story. In the Atrahasis version of this story, it's pretty clear that it wouldn't be fair to call Lamaštu inherently evil. It's not her fault that she's killing babies, but she was created by the gods to do that, and that's what she does. But it's not an inherent sort of want or desire to do harm. It's just what she was made for, by the gods, in fact. It's not her fault. In later first millennium texts about Lamaštu, and we have a lot of incantations about her. If you're interested, check out Walter Farber's really great book. In these later texts, there's not a clear story about why Lamaštu is separated from her father Anu and other gods, but it just seems that she's characterized as having a thirst and hunger for human blood and babies in particular, and that's why she's doing all this harm. In these texts, it's a little bit easier for us to call her sort of inherently evil or having evil intentions because she is sort of out of her own agency causing harm to babies, but she's not doing it just to cause harm and for no other reason. She's hungry and thirsty, and that's what she happens to eat, babies. And so it's still, I think, a little bit more complicated than her just being wholly evil. Going a little bit deeper into the incantation text, I think there's more reason why we should see her as a more complicated figure. In this text, she's taking away babies from their caretakers, but she's not taking them away just to eat them. She's suckling them and singing to them and kissing them. And there are other texts where she's described in first-person quotes as saying, "Bring me your babies, I want to suckle them." But then in other places, she's described as having poison in her body. And so out of this, I think we can read Lamaštu not as an evil being, but as a misunderstood and sort of bumbling being, if anything. She wants to take care of these babies. She wants to breastfeed them, but she's poisonous. She wants to sing to them, but she's screeching instead. She wants to do the things that a good mother would do. She's just not able to for whatever reason, or she's bad at it. I think that based on the rest of the incantations, it seems that ancient people and the people who wrote these texts have a more sympathetic view of Lamaštu as well. I talked more about the rituals to get rid of Lamaštu previously, but in these incantations, you're not simply saying, Lamaštu, go away, you're evil, leave me alone, but you're giving her snacks for the road. You're giving her travel provisions and food and making a boat for her so that she is then able to go away and leave you and your babies alone. It's not just that you're, shutting her down, but you're trying to set her up so that she can go and do her own thing somewhere else and stop causing harm, which to me reads like they don't think that Lamaštu has evil intentions, but that she just needs something to do to distract her and keep her from harming babies accidentally. So I don't really think it's useful, and I think we should move away from calling ancient Mesopotamian gods and demons either wholly good or wholly bad. Both gods and demons have a lot going on, and both can be either useful or harmful to humans. In the case of Pazuzu, for example, who's like Lamaštu labeled demon, Pazuzu is often depicted as keeping Lamaštu away from humans. So in that case, he is useful to humans, and that's why we have so many amulets of his head. If he was fully evil, why would we have archaeological evidence of amulets that would be either worn or hung on walls? And Mesopotamian gods aren't wholly good either. A lot of diseases and sicknesses are attributed to the hand of certain gods, so they can cause harm to people as well. I think ultimately the difference between demons and gods, or what we call demons and gods in the ancient Mesopotamian context, is the scale of their power. Demons can affect individuals, but gods can affect whole groups of people. Ultimately, I think this more complicated and sympathetic view of Lamaštu is a good lesson for all of us. Because we live in a society with other people around, sometimes when we do things that we want to do, we unintentionally cause harm to other people. And that doesn't mean we're evil or have evil intentions, but that we cause harm without meaning to. It's a reminder that all of us are a little bit like Lamaštu. Sometimes we hurt people, and that doesn't make us evil, but we have to live with the consequences of that, and that means that people might want us to go away. So this ended up being another long video. I'm not very good at making short videos. But if you want to learn more about Lamaštu, you can go to my previous video that I made about her, or here for some more things to read. But I also plan on making another video sort of clarifying how I see Lamaštu's connection with dogs as being interesting in particular, and I want to make a video on Pazuzu still, and the Udug demons, and there's a lot to talk about, so hopefully I'll have some more time this month to make some more demon videos.